Part 7. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 61. After getting the key, Wu Wei left the glass factory community. He did not bother to go back to Bai Road to check the house, and went straight to Yao's house. However, from his professional perspective as a bricklayer, the quality of the house on Bai Road is definitely fine. As for whether it is clean inside and what furniture it has, it is not important. As for Yao's house, he asked his master Chiao Wei to send 2 big workers and 5 or 6 small workers last night. He had to ask whether the people were in place and how they negotiated with Master Chen. He was so busy that he did not even drink a sip of water, but just drank. Fortunately, after arriving at Yao's house, seeing that Lao Chen led the team to do a good job, talking and laughing, in full swing. This is the bottom. There are not so many rules, as long as you can make money, it doesn't matter if you suffer a little. Even so, as soon as Wu Wei appeared, Lao Chen still felt that he was more legitimate. The new guys also relied on their status as fellow villagers and were a little inflated. Wu Wei took out a cigarette and went to them one by one. By the way, combined with the master's instructions last night, the faces in front of him corresponded. 2 senior workers, one surnamed Tao and the other surnamed Wang. Both were in their early 30s, enthusiastic and with a simple and dark smile. Wu Wei mentioned Aunt Wang from Jianzhuang village, and it turned out that she was actually a relative of Master Wang. Master Wang was happy with a sullen look. Seeing this, the others also started to talk to Wu Wei. After a while, among the people present, Lao Chen was the most outsider. Lao Chen was dumbfounded. Wu Wei smiled and dealt with it, and finally pulled Lao Chen to the wall and squatted down next to the corner. How is it? Is there anyone who disobeys? It's okay, Lao Chen shook his head and said, it's just that without Jiao to cook, the food quality has dropped a lot. Wu Wei laughed, this problem can't be solved. As he was talking, Yao Lao's wife Sister Li came out. It was a slightly plump little sister-in-law, holding 2 packs of Dakianmen in her hand. Wu Wei quickly stood up, declined a few words, then thanked and accepted it. When Sister Li left, Wu Wei handed the cigarette to Lao Chen and said, the meat processing factory will start work tomorrow, and I may be busy. If you have any urgent matters, go there directly to find me. After these few days, I will take time to come and see you. Lao Chen held 2 packs of Dakianmen and vowed, boss, don't worry, I will definitely lead people to do a good job. Wu Wei nodded, pushed the 28 bar and left. Leaving Yao's house, riding back to the family area of the meat processing factory, we almost crossed most of Bailun County. The small county town in the 1980s had no urban style at all. There were low houses everywhere, and even the streets and alleys exuded an unpleasant stench. This experience is not much better than the countryside. I really don't know where the elder sister gets that sense of superiority every time she returns to her parents' home. Back to the family quarters of the meat processing plant. The old houses of the Song and Tang families have been razed to the ground. More than half of the red bricks were removed, leaving only some broken bricks and tiles. Zai and Master Gao were leading people to clean up the site. They also determined the direction, measured the foundation, and then spread the lime line. Wu Wei caught Aunt Wang and asked her, and she really sent the missing red bricks back to her home. Boss Cheng is impeccable in this regard. What he promised will definitely be done. Not long after, it was dark, and it was time to get off work. Wu Wei drank 2 large bowls of water and recovered. Watching Zai and Lao Gao arrange the things on the site, Wu Wei took Yang Chiao away. Maybe she was really tired. Wu Wei pedaled the car all the way to Bai Road, and the silly girl finally reacted. Isn't this the way back to the village? Did you see it? As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Wei propped himself up with his left foot and stopped the car in front of a small courtyard. Yang Qiao was refreshed, and her pretty face was full of joy as she said, "Did you find the house?" Wu Wei nodded. "You are so afraid to go back to the village, so of course I have to hurry up and find it. Fortunately, I am lucky today." After that, he threw the key over. Unfortunately, Yang Qiao was caught off guard and didn't catch it at all, but it didn't fall to the ground. It was caught by the two big whites in his arms. Wu Wei was stunned. If he could even catch the key, wouldn't there be more things that could be caught? After coming to his senses, Wu Wei propped up the car on the spot and said, "Go in and take a look." Yang Qiao blushed and took the key out of the ditch, fumbling to insert it into the keyhole on the door. It didn't look very skilled. But it doesn't matter. After opening it a few more times, you will naturally become skilled. The lock spring sounded, and the tightly closed door opened. It was a pity that the yard was pitch black and nothing could be seen clearly. All I could hear was the evening breeze blowing the fallen leaves, making a rustling sound. Wu Wei couldn't help but feel a little regretful. If he had known earlier, he shouldn't have come to see the house at night. He didn't even prepare a flashlight, which was a bit scary. As a result, when he turned his head, Yang Qiao was not afraid, but eager to try, with a look of excitement on her face. Wu Wei suddenly realized that after all, she no longer had a home. So much so that she was looking forward to having her own little nest more than anyone else. Thinking of this, Wu Wei fumbled to find the pull cord of the door headlight. The next moment, the incandescent lamp lit up, instantly illuminating the small yard in front of him. The small yard was not big, less than 20 square meters. But there were two trees planted, adding a bit of vitality and elegance. One was a jujube tree, and the other was also a jujube tree. The ground outside the jujube tree was paved with red bricks. There was only one road in the middle leading directly to the main hall, and a 1-meter wide cement floor was paved. The main hall was a 3-room bungalow with a corridor. On the columns on both sides of the corridor, a lead wire was tied to each as a clothesline. It was sunny, but not afraid of getting wet in the rain. Wu Wei pushed the car into the door and leaned against the aisle before turning around and half closing the door. He continued to walk in with Yang Qiao. He took 2 steps at a time and arrived at the main hall door. The main door was simply bolted and not locked. He opened the bolt and pushed the door open. Yang Qiao was already impatient to fumble for the pull rope. As a result, she found it first. The light above her head flashed and finally lit up completely. It was actually a relatively rare fluorescent tube. Compared with the brightness of incandescent lamps, fluorescent lamps can be said to be overwhelming. Especially after the light stabilized, the surroundings were more and more brightly lit. However, the house was empty, and no matter how clear the photo was, it would be useless. The side rooms on both sides were roughly the same. But they all had doors and windows, and were extremely complete. After looking at the main room, Yang Qiao couldn't wait to go straight to the 2 gatehouses on both sides of the door. The kitchen was on the east side, and the water room was on the west side. The room was not big, but it also had doors and windows, and the window faced the small courtyard, and the door faced the entrance porch. It can be said that although the small courtyard is small, each room is complete. Wu Wei clapped his hands and said, "Are you satisfied?" Yang Qiao nodded vigorously. "It's better than the conditions in the fenced courtyard, I like it so much." Then he suggested, "Why not ask Xiao-chun and Zishun to move in as well?" Wu Wei stretched out his hand and brushed the mud on Yang Qiao's shoulders. "So with the door, you are not afraid of them eavesdropping? Who would marry into the family after being reborn?" Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 62. The words just fell. Wu Wei looked at Yang Qiao, only to find that the other person's eyes when he looked back were twitchy. This girl doesn't know how to act coquettishly, don't know how to play tricks, or even doesn't know how to speak softly. but just his loving eyes are enough to enchant all living beings. What's more, she is so young and handsome. The next moment, Yang Qiao looked away and went straight to the water room and said, "I'm going to take a shower." Wu Wei turned around silently, locked the door, and followed him. For no other reason than to help test the water and electricity. This test lasts for more than an hour. Sure enough, the water in the water room was gurgling and flowing smoothly up and down. Returning to the fence yard, the yard was indeed filled with old bricks and tiles. It's square and neatly coated. Xiaochun came out and heard Wu Wei praise, "The code is good." Xiaochun turned around and entered the kitchen and said, "Where did I code it?" "I gave the master who brought it 2 packs of cigarettes and asked him to code it while he was unloading the bricks." "Well done, you have a business acumen." Xiaochun took out the food left in the pot, and Yang Qiao, who had washed her hands, quickly shook her hand and took it. "Just sit on the millstone with Wu Wei and start eating." Xiaochun said proudly, "That's right. It costs only 1 yuan for 2 packs of cigarettes. The time saved is enough to make several fake collars." Wu Wei said while eating, "By the way, I found Kiao's house. I'll tidy it up in the next 2 days and add some furniture, and then we can move in." At this time, Xiaochun stopped talking about business. He volunteered, Qiao, "Let me clean it up for you, so as not to delay your small work." Yang Qiao also knew how to carry it, and refused directly, "I can't earn as much as you do for a day's work." "Xiaochun, this is definitely not possible." Xiaochun said anxiously, "But..." Before he finished speaking, Wu Wei interrupted, "Just do as Qiao said." Then he offered some advice, "If you really want to help, just buy something and send it over." Then Xiaochun asked for the detailed address, and then gave up for the time being. After dinner, Xiaochun immediately called Qiao and chatted about moving supplies. Wu Wei couldn't get a word in. Simply put on a pack of cigarettes and go straight to Qiao's courtyard. The lights in Master Qiao Wu's house are brightly lit. Not only senior brother He Jiang is here, but also second senior brother Lu Jianwei and third senior brother Shi Jianjun. In addition, He Jiang is the master's eldest son-in-law, and Qiao Yuyan's eldest sister Qiao Yuning and her children are also there. Wu Wei just showed up and didn't bother to disperse the cigarettes for his brothers. Then the master waved him over and said, "Come here and take a look at the drawings. What's going on with the dimensions here?" Wu Wei leaned over and explained. Everyone suddenly realized and raised their heads. "I saw fourth master Qiao coming over with Qiao Gangfeng at some unknown time." For a while, the house was very lively. Chen Yuejuan and Qiao Yuyan were busy serving tea and water. Construction is about to start, and everyone is full of energy. Especially the seniors, master and fourth master, have not been exposed to such a large project for a long time. For drawings and data, I turned over and over again. You have to pick it until the melon is overripe. It's 10 o'clock in a blink of an eye. Wu Wei took a look and realized that this was not possible. He whispered something to the master who still had something to say. Fifth Master Qiao realized what he was doing and hurriedly chased people away. While expelling people, I did not forget to warn them not to be late tomorrow. I'm late, don't blame me for being ruthless. Everyone responded and dispersed like birds and beasts. The next day is August 16th. On the construction site of the meat factory, red flags were waved and colorful flags were fluttering. It attracted the attention of many meat factory workers. Qiao Wei led hundreds of people to perform a show with the factory director Wang Jun and the leadership team. As for the groundbreaking ceremony, taking a photo and shouting a few slogans are always indispensable. Not only that, Boss Cheng also borrowed 2 excavators in a timely manner. So after Wang Jun took the groundbreaking photo of him standing at position C, the 2 excavators started digging along the lime line that Master Wu had sprinkled early in the morning. The much anticipated factory building project started with great fanfare. The shovel of the excavator is enough for the workers to dig for half a day. When the two excavators work together, the excavation of the foundation pit will take off. Looking at Deputy Director Zhang in the office building, his brows knitted into knots and he said, "This little boy is really talented. He can even get this kind of machine." Section Chief Liao asked, "Could it be Factory Director Wan who did it?" Deputy Director Zhang shook his head and said, "No, if Lao Wan had such a mind, he would have mentioned it when the people from the construction station were around." At the same time, the factory director's office. Wan Jun watched the excavator in the distance digging into the ground with his shovel, feeling very happy. Sure enough, I was right about the person. This guy Wu Wei has a very good mind. Section Chief Sun behind him praised, "Not only is he smart, but he is also willing to spend a lot of money. I heard that renting this excavator for a day costs a lot of money." Wan Jun doesn't care about money. As a factory director, what he cares about is whether things can be done quickly and well. It now appears that Wu Wei's promise of a 4-month construction period was not entirely a result of a hot-headed decision, but rather an accurate decision in his mind. "I guess I saw the right person." "That's right, Director, you have always been very accurate in your judgment of people." Wan Jun turned around and said with a smile, "Okay, don't just flatter me. Send a message to the second canteen and ask them to provide good food for the masters. This can be considered as a contribution to the construction of the factory." Yes, I'll be there right away." While Wu Wei was busy, Yang Qiao was also busy in the courtyard on Bai Road. She spent the whole morning cleaning the house inside and out. Then she started running around the county with the 80 yuan Wu Wei gave her. She bought grains in the south market, pots and pans in the north market, coal briquettes in the east market, and furniture in the west market. She compared prices and bargained for everything. She wanted to spend every penny. Even so, the 80 yuan was not enough and soon ran out. However, Yang Qiao enjoyed it. By noon, when Xiaochun came over after selling the fake collars, the whole courtyard had been completely renewed. The originally empty place was decorated by Yang Qiao's skillful hands, and the atmosphere of life was directly filled. After Xiaochun's visit, it was indeed much better than her home. He casually handed over the newly bought bedding and said, "This is for you, just consider it a housewarming gift." Then, before Yang Qiao could speak, he warned her, "Don't ask me for money." Yang Qiao changed her mind and said, "Okay, when you get married, I'll pay for the dragon and phoenix quilts and other things." In Xiaochun's opinion, getting married is a very distant thing. I simply didn't bother to care about it and let her say whatever she wanted. After Yang Qiao finished speaking, she continued to write and draw in the small notebook. Xiaochun looked curious and leaned over to say, "What are you recording?" "I'm recording accounts. The accounts I owe to your second brother. You and my second brother are so clear about it. You owe money, so you owe money. What does it have to do with whether you can tell the difference or not? By the way, I have something to ask you. How much did you spend on the cigarettes and alcohol you gave to the old secretary's family that night?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 63. Wu Xiaochun was surprised when he heard this question. She was very sure that no one had mentioned this matter to Qiao. But Qiao actually saw it all and kept it in mind. Even so, Xiaochun still refused to admit it and said, "That was a gift from my second brother to them, it has nothing to do with you." Yang Qiao pulled Xiaochun and begged, "Your second brother has helped me save 500 yuan. I can't let him pay back the money for gifts, right?" "Xiaochun, Just tell me. Otherwise, I will still have to pay for it. Go to the cigarette shop and ask. Xiao-chun had no choice but to tell her the progress of the first day of work at the meat factory site. Not only did Wan Jun feel extremely satisfied, but it also shocked the senior masters like 4th master and 5th master. The efficiency of mechanization is overwhelming compared to manual work. At the end of work in the evening, when the second son accompanied Wu Wei to inspect the entire construction site, Mr. Chiao said with emotion, "It will take at most another day to dig the foundation. I thought it would take at least a week. This is just digging a foundation pit. After the foundation pit is dug, steel bars must be tied, poured, and then backfilled. Without 2 excavators, this part of the foundation alone would have taken at least a month." Wu Wei accompanied him and said with emotion, "Master, 4th master, I have discovered that for a project as big as a factory building, the control of the construction schedule is on the one hand, and the management of materials and costs is also the top priority. Look, you guys, I've been busy receiving various materials and signing and checking the accounts all day." Looking at the densely packed accounts and figures in Wu Wei's notebook, the 4th master and the 5th master also felt numb. "I used to think that having hundreds of people to keep track of work was already a headache. Now it seems that this is not the case." After a round of inspection, Wu Wei left the meat factory and went straight to the Beihai Road courtyard. At this time, it was no longer time to go see the Song family and Tang family's small foreign-style houses. They should have left work early. Not long after, we arrived at the Beihai Road courtyard. Different from the empty one when I came here last night, the courtyard is completely different tonight. Not only were the daily necessities fully prepared, but there was also a figure waiting for his return under the lamp. There is nothing better than a happy life with a wife and children on the hot bed. Seeing Wu Wei pushing open the door and entering, Yang Qiao immediately put away her sewing and said, "You are hungry, wash your hands and eat." Wu Wei turned around and entered the water room, where he saw that brand new toiletries had been purchased. "Take a shower and feel refreshed." Returning to the main room of the main hall, I saw a simple 8 immortals table with wine and vegetables. Next to it stood 2 equally old stools. Looking at all this, Wu Wei was inexplicably surprised. What surprised him was that Yang Qiao could cook up such a meal so quickly. But this set of 8 immortals tables and stools seems to have some origins. "Sit down," Yang Qiao said without raising her head, just pouring wine for Wu Wei. When he finished pouring the cup of wine, he looked up and found Wu Wei touching the legs of the 8 immortals table and the stool legs, looking at them carefully. In an instant, he blushed to the root of his neck and explained, "I bought this near the furniture market in the west of the city. The table had a broken leg, so I put a few bricks on it to temporarily support it. The stool was also shaky and not very reliable. Sitting on it, be careful." Wu Wei did not answer but asked, "How much did it cost?" Yang Qiao became even more depressed, and even said in a voice like a gnat, 20 yuan, isn't it expensive?" As a result, Wu Wei didn't speak. Instead, he held her pretty face, kissed her hard and said, "You've made a lot of money. This is a Huanghuali. Once it's repaired, it can be sold for a big price." Yang Qiao was caught off guard and murmured, "Really?" Wu Wei sat down gently, and the stool was indeed shaking unbearably. But none of that matters. The important thing is that Yang Qiao, a silly girl, is really a fool who is blessed. When I came back from picking up broken furniture, I found Huanghuali. Wu Wei picked up the chopsticks, picked up the wine cup and drank it all in one gulp, saying, "What a pity, it's just a waste of Huanghuali." Yang Qiao murmured, "I also picked up a few broken legs, intending to use them as firewood to light the stove." Wu Wei put down his chopsticks with a snap and said, "Where is it? Go get it and let me have a look." Yang Qiao rushed straight to the kitchen and brought 7 or 8 broken pieces of wood. "It's all here." Wu Wei carefully pulled it out and found that there were indeed 2 broken legs of Huanghuali wood. As a material for repairing the 8 immortals table, it is more than enough. As for the 2 stools under the buttocks, they are just shaking. They can be dismantled and reinforced, and it doesn't take much wood. Yang Qiao hesitated and said, but it takes a lot of effort to repair these furniture. Do you have to ask the master to spend money? Wu Wei clapped his hands, raised his head and said, I can do this job. All the carpentry skills he learned from his 4th master in his previous life were used to repair antique furniture. Asking him to build a set of furniture seriously might not work. But it is his strength to restore the original appearance of antique furniture according to the Gord's painting. Tomorrow, 4th master and I will ask for a set of tools and we will start repairing it. Although Yang Qiao was excited, she did not cheer for joy, but her pretty face was filled with a happy smile. Frequently put the food in front of Wu Wei and said, you must be exhausted after a busy day. Eat quickly. After a while, we were full of wine and food. While Yang Qiao went to wash and rinse, Wu Wei pushed the door open and entered the east chamber. Only a simple bed was added to the east chamber. Wu Wei picked up the brand new bedding and saw that it was an iron frame bed, so there was no possibility of picking it up. Even so, Yang Qiao's luck in picking things up is already incredible. Coming out of the east chamber, Wu Wei went straight to the kitchen. Compared to the solitary bed in the east wing, the kitchen is fully stocked with pots, pans, grains and grains. A mere 80 yuan can buy so many homes. After a busy day, it was really difficult for her. But when Yang Qiao finished her work, Wu Wei asked seriously, isn't this bed also shaky, making it difficult to sleep peacefully? Yang Qiao said without knowing it, the bed is very strong. I tried it specially. Wu Wei shook his head and said, how can you try it alone? At least 2 people have to try it together. This test lasted for more than an hour. There is indeed nothing wrong with the iron frame bed, it is sturdy, durable and extremely stable. After a long time, Wu Wei stood up and dressed and said, you live here alone, lock the door. Yang Qiao hummed, then stood up and closed the door. I'll find a puppy for you tomorrow to look after your home and home. It's okay, don't worry. There were people peeking beside her bed, and they came over when she fell asleep with scissors on her pillow. There is nothing to be afraid of. After leaving the Bai Road courtyard, Wu Wei returned to Daowen village and went directly to his master's house. Still, it's a little late. Master Qiao Wei has already made arrangements for the project for the next 2 days and is waiting for Wu Wei to come over and make a decision. Wu Wei listened carefully and found out that the master was definitely a veteran in leading construction work. The veteran takes action, one can defeat 2. We've run out of manuscripts, so I'm a little late. Sorry, I'll try to get back on time tomorrow. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 64. This night, Yang Qiao slept particularly peacefully. It had been a long time since she had slept so soundly. Not only because she was tired from trying out the bed, but also because the small courtyard completely relaxed her and made her feel more secure. So when I wake up, my whole person is full of energy. After washing up, I simply drank a bowl of porridge and then hurried straight to the family area of the meat joint factory. Arriving at the Song family's territory, Lao Zeng, the young worker who stayed behind to watch the place last night, had just gotten up. So early, Qiao. It's getting late, Master Zeng. Old Zeng chuckled. As a small worker, he felt comfortable being called Master Zeng. After all, that is a title only given to great workers. Not long after, Aunt Wang, who had come from Jianzhuang village, arrived yawning. As soon as I saw Qiao's radiant look, I could tell immediately. He secretly pulled Qiao aside and said, hurry up and give birth to a child for him, and tie him up with the child. Yang Qiao was thin-skinned and refused to admit it. "Aunt Wang, what are you talking about?" Aunt Wang also spoke quickly. Qiao, it's boring for you to be like this. I don't talk nonsense about you to my family, so why are you hiding it from me?" Yang Qiao couldn't bear this, so she said, "It's not that he doesn't want to marry me, it's that I don't want to marry." "Why? I don't deserve it?" Aunt Wang sighed, speechless. No matter how much outsiders try to persuade her, she can only figure it out on her own. Seeing her like this, Yang Qiao came over to comfort her. "Aunt Wang, I'm fine like this, really." Aunt Wang shook her head, "Such a silly girl." On the construction site of the meat factory, Boss Cheng arrived in a mighty manner with a cart of steel bars and hundreds of square meters of red bricks. Wu Wei was already waiting nearby. When he saw him coming down, he handed him the flue and said, "Thank you for your hard work, Boss Cheng." Boss Cheng took off the toad mirror and took the opportunity to claim credit. "How about it, Boss Wu, am I interested? It's mechanized. I've also got a steel hoop bending machine for you." Wu Wei stepped forward and saw that it was indeed a hoop bending machine, but it was an older model. There is even some rust on the corners. But he didn't pick any more. These days, it would be nice to be able to use it. Just like the excavator stopped working for a while, it was repaired and it continued to work as usual. However, when Wu Wei saw the hundreds of square meters of red bricks delivered from the back of the motorcade, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of pain. The building of the meat joint factory this time is 6,000 square meters, which requires more than 1,000 square meters of red bricks. Calculated based on the profit of 2.5 cents per red brick leaving the factory, this is a profit of 15,000 yuan. If he had taken down the Zishan brick kiln earlier, part of the profits would have gone into his pocket. Unfortunately, to this day, he has not heard the news that Zishan brick kiln is for sale. Qin Ziru didn't know what she was thinking. She couldn't just let the broken brick kiln rot in her hands just because she didn't have a wife, right? "Boss Wu," Boss Cheng's voice interrupted his thoughts. Wu Wei came to his senses and began to follow the convoy, signing for materials and arranging the place for unloading. After a lot of work, it was lunchtime on the construction site. Wu Wei directly borrowed flowers to offer to the Buddha and said, "Boss Cheng, it's time to try our construction site food." Boss Cheng couldn't help but said, "I've always heard that the food in the meat joint factory is good. Let's see it today." The hundreds of people on the construction team actually ate at different times of the day with the employees of the meat processing factory. Boss Cheng followed Wu Wei into the second cafeteria to take a look. Good guy, braised pork intestines, fried pork liver, and pork lung soup, the whole thing is huge and filling. It's like a pig going into water for free. In fact, in meat processing plants, hundreds of pigs are slaughtered every day, and the most indispensable thing is pigs getting into the water. Boss Cheng followed Wu Wei and also took a portion. I was sweating and hearty after eating. While eating, he mentioned, "Boss Wu, do you know what the people at the construction station think of you now?" Wu Wei smiled and said, "I robbed their who, there will definitely be no good things to say." Boss Cheng said with disdain, "You really made me guess. They are just waiting to see your joke. These grandsons are used to being uncles, so they don't want to see others being kind. For this reason, I, old Cheng, have to cooperate with you, Boss Wu, to complete this project successfully." Wu Wei was very impressed and said with great pride, "With what you said, Boss Cheng, why worry about not succeeding in big things? When the factory is completed, I will definitely treat you, Boss Cheng, to a drink until I get drunk. It's a deal." After seeing off Boss Cheng, Wu Wei returned to the construction site and took his lunch break. But in reality, most people can't sleep either. Because the excavator is roaring, who can fall asleep with this sound? Wu Wei found fourth Master Chiao, handed him a cigarette and said, "Fourth master, can you help me get a carpenter's job?" Fourth master Chiao immediately became interested. "What, you want to learn to be a carpenter? I'll teach you." Wu Wei grinned. "Fourth master, actually I know a little bit about carpentry, which is enough." Fourth master Chiao said with a smile, "Xiao Wu, I know your brain is smart and useful. But carpentry requires more than just being smart." Seeing that fourth master was trying to recruit an apprentice again, Wu Wei quickly interrupted. "Fourth master, I am only repairing tables, chairs, and benches, not furniture. That also requires basic skills." After fourth master Chiao finished speaking, he called his eldest son Chiao Gangfeng and said, "Go get a tool bag and bring 2 pieces of wood with you." Chiao Gang left in a hurry. After a while, he left and returned. Not only did they bring tool kits and 2 sections of wood measuring 30 to 40 centimeters, but they also brought many masters who were watching the fun in full view. Fourth master Chiao first gave Wu Wei a vaccination and said, "Now in front of everyone, if you admit that you don't know how, I won't take the test for you, lest you fail to get off the stage." Wu Wei was eager to give it a try. "Fourth master, let your horse come over." Fourth master Chiao picked up 2 pieces of wood, weighed them and said, "It's very simple. You said you were just repairing tables, chairs, and benches, so just connect the 2 pieces of wood. This is the minimum." Everyone was talking a lot. Many of the carpenters have already begun to solve the problem. This is a wedge dowel, moderately difficult. It can be seen that fourth master Chiao clearly thought this question carefully. It was necessary to let Wu Wei retreat when he saw the difficulties, but not to make him unable to step down after the incident. Wu Wei took the tool bag, took out the carpenter's pencil, and put it behind his ear. Seeing this, fourth master Chiao suddenly thought, "It's over, he really knows how to do it. Maybe others will have to wait until Wu Wei has done all this before they can judge. But fourth master Chiao doesn't need it." Sure enough, Wu Wei's next action, whether it's marking lines, sanding, or sawing, everything is done smoothly and in one go. After a while, the 2 pieces of wood merged into one, and the mortise and tenon joints made them extremely strong. How can you say that you know a little bit? He is clearly a carpenter who has already started working as a carpenter. Wu Wei took out sandpaper and was about to polish the surface. Fourth master Chiao decisively stopped him and said, "What do you call this? You only know a little bit." Wu Wei touched his chin and said, "It is indeed only a few 100 million points. Who would marry into the family after being reborn?" Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 65. After a brief interlude, everyone dispersed. Fourth master Chiao didn't become an apprentice, and his face looked gloomy. Wu Wei quickly caught up with him, handed him a cigarette and said, "Fourth master, in fact, in my heart, you have been my master for a long time." Fourth master Chiao took the cigarette but said ungratefully, "With your level, I can't teach you anything." He obviously didn't understand what Wu Wei meant by this. In his previous life, Wu Wei learned this skill from fourth master Chiao. It makes sense to say he is the master. It's just that fourth master Chiao certainly couldn't imagine this possibility, so he naturally couldn't understand it. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the foundation pit for the factory building was finally dug. The 2 aging excavators finally had a breather. Mr. Chiao Wu immediately mobilized the small workers and began to lay the foundation. Accompanied by uniform slogans, the cast iron piles were pounded on the foundation, making a popping sound. By the time the foundation was completely laid, it was already dark. Wu Wei took the carpenter's tool bag, plundered half a bottle of white latex, and hurriedly returned to the Bai Road courtyard. As a result, when we arrived at the small courtyard, Yang Chiao had just arrived home and was lighting the stove to cook. Taking this opportunity, Wu Wei directly picked up 2 log stools and started working in the courtyard. When the corridor lights and door lights are turned on, the small courtyard is brightly lit. Wu Wei touched the log stool and found the location of the mortise and tenon joints. After knocking 3 times, 5 times, and 2 times, the 2 stools fell apart in an instant. Check them one by one. Sure enough, the mortise and tenon joint between the stool surface and the stool legs had been worn for a long time, creating a gap. Then worms breed worms, and rot worms breed rot. In particular, some of the tenon teeth dropped wood slag, so I was lucky that it didn't fall apart on the spot. Once the damage is determined, the problem will be easier to solve. When it's time to cut it off, when it's time to add a wedge, add a wedge. You don't even need leg scraps. After a busy day of work, they had just finished repairing a log stool, and Yang Chiao greeted him for dinner. Dinner is still 3 home-cooked dishes. The portion is not big, but it is full of flavor and color. Seeing that Chiao was about to take out the unfinished drink from yesterday, Wu Wei quickly interrupted, "I won't drink any more. I'll be busy in a while." As a result, after dinner, Wu Wei started working on another log stool. I heard the door of the small courtyard being banged. Chiao came out of the kitchen, opened the door and saw the lonely old lady next door. The person looked quite plain, but his face was fierce and scary. In addition, he had a stick in his hand, so he used a stick to knock on the door just now. "You guys made me take a rest." Chiao looked back at Wu Wei and quickly apologized, "I'm sorry, old lady, we'll stop now." The old lady then left angrily. Wu Wei remembered that the newsstand owner said that the old lady was difficult to deal with. I didn't associate this matter with being difficult. After all, he was the one doing the knocking and disturbing the people first. There is nothing wrong with people coming to your door like this. It's just that the stool was half stretched just now, so we can only take it back to the village and continue to work on it. Daowen Village, the 5th master's home in the Chiao family courtyard. A family of 4 was having dinner when Lu Hong suddenly rushed in with a piece of letter paper in a hurry. It's over, Jasmine ran away from home." Chen Yuejuan immediately put down her chopsticks and went out to greet him, "The child is fine." "Why?" Lu Hong shook the letter and said, "I blame me for arranging the marriage and introducing her to her partner. She said she wanted to go to the free world and embrace a new life." Upon hearing this, 5th Master Chiao also became anxious. "What should we do? Look for it quickly." Lu Hong said with tears in her eyes, "Where can I find it?" 5th Master Chiao immediately went out and said, "I'll call the 4th brother first and go to the village headquarters to find the 3rd brother." Chen Yuejuan pulled Lu Hong over and comforted her, "3rd sister-in-law, don't worry. That child Jasmine is blessed with good fortune and will be fine." At the dinner table, Chiao Yuyan kicked her 2nd brother Chiao Kuliang. "Do you know where Jasmine went?" "How do I know?" Chiao Kuliang denied. "Then you're not in a hurry," Chiao Yuyan said confidently, "your expression has already betrayed Jasmine." Okay. As soon as Chiao Kuliang admitted it, Chiao Yuyan turned around and complained, "Mom, 3rd aunt, 2nd brother knows where Jasmine went." The next moment, Lu Hong and Chen Yuejuan rushed over from the left and right. He directly pulled Chiao Kuliang up and shook him. "Kuliang, Jasmine is also your sister and the lifeblood of the 3rd aunt. Nothing can happen to her. Please tell me quickly, where has she gone?" Chen Yuejuan also echoed, "That's right, you child, hurry up and don't make the adults anxious." Chiao Kuliang felt like his whole body was falling apart. Why is it that it was Chiao Moli who ran away from home, but it was me, Chiao Kuliang, who was unlucky? She ran away from home because you forced her to go on a blind date. If you don't give in, I will tell you to get her back. She will leave next time, and she won't even tell me then." Lu Hong stumbled and almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, Chiao Yuyan quickly supported her with quick eyes and hands. "But Xiao Wu is such a good kid, Why can't Jasmine see the good in him? I'm doing this all for her own good. Xiao Kuliang said even more confidently, you just think it's good for yourself, and you don't care about Jasmine's feelings at all. Xiao Yuyan also added in a low voice, Jasmine told brother Wu Wei herself that she did not like him. Lu Hong sighed dejectedly, stood firm and said, forget it, Kuliang, you quickly contact Jasmine and ask her to come back, I won't force her. It was late at night, and everything was silent. Only a few dogs barking in the distance came. Xiao Wei was lying on the bed, and suddenly laughed out loud. Hearing the old man laughing secretly, Chen Yuejuan turned around and asked, what are you laughing at? It's so scary in the middle of the night. Xiao Wei looked away at his wife and said, Jasmine made such a fuss, aren't you happy? As soon as the voice fell, Chen Yuejuan also laughed. For the embarrassing things that happened in the third brother's family, the two of them usually don't laugh. Unless they can't help it. I didn't expect that in the end, it was Jasmine who helped us solve this deadlock. That's right, the third brother and his wife liked Wu Wei for this point, and the two of them were worried about it before and couldn't sleep. As a result, within a few days, Jasmine easily solved it. Now I think that this matter can only be solved by Jasmine. No one else can do it. For a moment, the room was filled with a happy atmosphere. After a moment, Xiao Wei sighed softly, you don't know. These 2 days, as the factory started, I found more and more that Xiao Wu is a treasure. Not only does he know everything, but he is also comprehensive. He is born to be a leader. It's not wrong for our Yuyan to marry him. She will definitely enjoy the good life in the future. Chen Yuejuan sighed faintly, I don't know if our Yuyan has this blessing. Xiao Wei's heart jumped, the old woman's worry was not unreasonable. Once the factory project is completed, the boy will earn hundreds of thousands of yuan, and marrying a city girl is not a big deal. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 66. At the same time, Xiao Yuyan, who was lying on the bed, didn't fall asleep either. Holding the bottle of Jian Nanshan in my arms, I felt that the hope of drinking this wine became increasingly slim. Just like Wu Wei is busy now. It feels very close to you and you can see it often. But mentally I just feel like it's getting further and further away. Could it be that he planned to marry her because he tried so hard to help Yang Xiao escape from the prison? When she thought of this, Xiao Yuyan's chest couldn't help but rise and fall violently. She found that she could not accept such a result. It's time to take the initiative and know yourself and your enemy. So early the next morning, she couldn't wait to come to the fence yard. At this point, Wu Wei and Wu Xiaochun had already gone to the county, leaving Zishun alone at home reading. There are a lot of old bricks and tiles piled up in the yard. It wasn't until Xiao Yuyan walked to the door of the hall that Zishun discovered it. He stood up quickly and said, Sister Yuyan, you haven't been here for a while. Xiao Yuyan smiled and said, I didn't see you looking for me. As soon as he heard this, Zishun felt inexplicably a little bit indebted, and even his voice sounded guilty. Sister Yuyan, let me get you some water. However, Xiao Yuyan grabbed her and said, stop working and talk to me. While talking, he entered the west wing. A quick look revealed that there was no trace of Yang Xiao in the west wing. Xiao Yuyan's heart suddenly thought, isn't Yang Xiao living with you anymore? Zishun sat down and said, Sister Xiao has moved away. Your second brother helped her so much, but he didn't plan to marry her. Sister Xiao doesn't want to marry. She thinks she has a bad reputation and marrying her second brother would be a drag. Xiao Yuyan was shocked and had mixed feelings. She, who had always been confident, suddenly felt like she was being compared to Yang Xiao. After a while, he came back to his senses. Qiao Yuyan lifted the curtain and entered the east chamber. The furnishings in the room were still as simple as before. And there is indeed no trace of a woman staying there. However, there are some more scrawled notes on the letter paper on the desk. Qiao Yuyan didn't even look at it, she just tore it off and put it in her pocket. Extremely skilled. At the meat factory construction site, Wu Wei had just brought the wooden stool over when he was discovered by fourth master Qiao. This antique furniture is really eye-catching. It can't be covered up at all. Is this the table, chair, and bench you want to repair? Wu Wei nodded, this is just one of the stools. There is another stool and an entire 8 immortals table. Fourth master Qiao asked, is it all this kind of wood? Wu Wei nodded again. Fourth master Qiao couldn't help but gasped, where did you get it? Before Wu Wei could answer, fifth master Qiao finally got the clue. What's so special about this wood? Aren't they all old furniture? There used to be so much at home that they were all used as firewood. Fourth master Qiao suddenly felt insulted. Can old furniture be the same as old furniture? This is Huang Huali's, antique furniture, worth a lot of money. Fifth master Qiao couldn't help but take the stool and weigh it in his hands, it's really heavy. As a result, before it was even warmed up, fourth master Qiao took it away and said, you know nothing. After saying this, he looked at the entire log stool carefully, turning it over and over. Finally, he nodded with satisfaction, yes, the repair marks are not heavy and can't be seen at all, but it is best to paint it again. Wu Wei agreed, I'm planning to buy it today. What are you buying? What are you spending that money on? Fourth master Qiao stared at him, there are so many at home, I will bring them to you tomorrow. Wu Wei quickly dispersed the smoke and said, thank you, fourth master. On the construction site in the afternoon. In the foundation pit, the reinforcement work has been fully carried out. The steel bars, which had been exposed to the sun for a long time, were hot to the touch and felt particularly warm to the touch. Even so, Wu Wei still reached out to check and confirm from time to time to ensure that the binding was strong and secure. I was so busy until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, everything was on track. Wu Wei then told fifth master Qiao, Master, please keep an eye on this place while I go to a few other places to have a look. Fifth master Qiao raised his hand and said, go ahead, go ahead. When Wu Wei arrived at the family area of the meat factory, he brought a log stool with him. Fourth senior brother Zike was studying the drawings with Lao Gao, his brows knitted into knots. After all, the drawings of the two small foreign-style houses are the same. If there are any problems, we should naturally study them together. When the two of them saw Wu Wei coming, they immediately said as if they were a savior, come on, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Wu Wei stopped the car and joked, what kind of problem can you two solve? After saying that, he turned his head to take a look. Zike pointed at the pipeline on the drawing and asked, what is this? Wu Wei said without hesitation, this is the sewer pipe that was pre-buried when the foundation was made. Then Master Gao pointed to another place and said, then what is this? This is the water pipe reserved in the wall, Wu Wei answered, then pointed to another place and said, this is the circuit pipe reserved in the wall. Zike understood, so, when the entire small building is completed, there will actually be no lines or pipes visible outside. Wu Wei nodded. Master Gao also looked confused and said sternly, no wonder it's called Xiaoanglu, it's so foreign. Immediately, Wu Wei gave on-site instructions on the operation of the buried pipeline. Only then did Yang Qiao leave the wooden stool and went to Yao's house. Qiao Yuyan left the fence yard with the letter in her pocket and couldn't help but feel guilty. But not much. After all, this wasn't the first time she had done this. Can what a literary young woman does be called stealing? At most it can be called borrowing. Even if it is called stealing, it is only for stealing hearts. It is not considered an offense. As soon as they turned onto the village road, Xiao Yuyan couldn't wait to take out the letter and read it. The handwriting was a little sloppy, but still vigorous. Such handwriting exudes a sense of maturity and elegance. This is also one of the things that Xiao Yuyan is deeply fascinated by. Xiao Yuyan glanced over and read it out unconsciously. Her emotions were immediately infected by the vicissitudes between the lines. He is now the hope of the whole village, and I don't know how proud he is. When she returned home, Xiao Yuyan was still mumbling this sentence. As a result, Xiao Kuliang heard it and said, "Well, have you heard this song too?" Xiao Yuyan was stunned. "What song?" "Rock music." "That's so exciting. I have a tape of live transcription." Xiao Kuliang finished speaking and looked at the letter paper in the hands of the youngest sister. It didn't look like someone copied the lyrics. So he asked, "Where did you get this?" "Written by brother Wu Wei. He also knows this song? This guy is interesting." Then the youngest sister stretched out her hand to him and said, "Give me the tape. I want to listen to it." Xiao Kuliang got up and went into the house. He took out a box of unmarked tapes and threw it to Xiao Yuyan. "Remember to return it to me. 3 chapters and 6K words, delivered on time. Fortunately I have fulfilled my mission. Please vote, please support Yanzu. Thanks to the 500 reward from the handsome guy fantasy night. Who would marry into the family after being reborn?" Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 67. The sound recording at the workers' stadium was already noisy. In addition, Xiao Kuliang's tape had been transcribed countless times. The effect was really disappointing, and it was just a sound. Even so, Kui Jian's soul-piercing voice still struck Xiao Yuyan's literary heart. So for an entire afternoon, Xiao Yuyan let this rock music without technique and full of emotion hit her soul over and over again. She felt that she was not listening to rock music, but listening to the voice of brother Wu Wei. During dinner, Master Xiao Wu saw that his little girl looked at him strangely. He immediately asked, "What's wrong? Are you crying like your eyes are swollen?" Xiao Kuliang looked up and said in a very childish way, "Nothing, Dad, this is the power of rock." Master Xiao Wu immediately got angry and threw his chopsticks. "Don't always use your dross to harm your sister." Xiao Kuliang didn't dare to talk back. But he couldn't help but complain in his heart, "What is dross? I didn't bring home the real dregs." Fortunately, Xiao Yuyan calmed down and smiled, saying, "Dad, I'm fine." Uncle Xiao Wu didn't ask any more questions, and drank the 3-cent cup in one gulp. Then he picked up the chopsticks and picked up a peanut. The family started eating. Then his wife Chen Yuejuan mentioned, "Once the news that Jasmine didn't like Wu Wei got out, I heard that the matchmakers started to come again." Uncle Xiao Wu said indifferently, "Xiao Wu is so busy now, how can he care about them?" Xiao Yuyan didn't take it to heart at all. Those mediocre women, no matter how big the millstone is, can they understand brother Wu Wei's heart as well as I do? Besides, my figure is not bad at all. Not to worry about. Wu Wei really didn't care about these matchmakers. In order to avoid them, he even had to hide in the small courtyard of Bai Road for a while every day. When it was late at night, he secretly returned to the village. It was August 20th in a blink of an eye. After many days of repair and polishing, an 8 immortal table and 2 round wooden stools were finally intact and painted with a shiny new paint. The whole nobleness was overwhelming. Yang Qiao couldn't bear to see it. "I chose this 8 immortal table and 2 stools at the beginning, just wanting you to come back every day and sit here. I'll warm up a pot of wine for you and prepare 2 side dishes." For such a caring woman, what else can Wu Wei say? He hugged her in his arms and comforted her, "Don't worry, when this table and stool are sold, all the money will belong to you. You can buy as many tables, chairs, and stools as you want." Yang Qiao said, That's not what I mean. This silly girl always likes to argue with me so clearly. Wu Wei couldn't listen anymore, and he didn't have the patience to listen to her arguments, so he could only choose to block her two mouths. After a warm and tender time, Wu Wei returned to the fence yard. It was already past 9 o'clock. The courtyard was quiet, with only the sound of Xiaochun pedaling the sewing machine. Seeing Wu Wei coming back, Xiaochun immediately stood up and asked, "Second brother, have you eaten?" In fact, she knew that it was so late, and her second brother must have come back after eating. But she still had to ask vaguely. Wu Wei waved his hand and said, "No one came to propose marriage today, right?" Xiaochun took out the newly bought military green teacup, poured a glass of water for Wu Wei and said, "Who said that? You came back 10 minutes earlier and they caught up with you." Wu Wei couldn't help but lick his teeth. It's not a good idea to hide like this. "Who said it wasn't?" Xiaochun sat down with him under the stool and said, "If you ask me, second brother, you should ask Xiao for a child as soon as possible. By then, even if Xiao doesn't consider herself, she will consider the child and agree to marry you." Wu Wei glared at him. "What kind of lewd words are you saying?" After glaring, he realized that he had gone too far, and quickly comforted him, "Don't you think about it? What if Xiao still doesn't want to marry after having a child? And children are not something that can be said to be there." In his previous life, Wu Wei had no children, and he always felt that it was not entirely Qin Zairu's fault. Maybe he himself didn't have much luck with children. Otherwise, after more than 30 years of hard work, it is hard to guarantee that there will be no accidents. But there was no such thing. Xiaochun also felt that it was not appropriate for a grown-up girl like her to give this advice to her second brother. But she had no other choice, did she? But thinking back, the possibility of her second brother's suggestion really left her speechless. With Qiao's personality, she could really do such a thing. At that time, not only the child but also Qiao would suffer. Wu Wei waved his hand and said, "Let's not talk about that. When you set up the stall tomorrow, don't forget to bring the 2 round wooden stools with you. That's antique furniture, made of Wanghuali, and the price is not less than 300 yuan. Don't bother with those who don't know the value. We only sell it to those who know the value." Xiaochun nodded and said, "I know." Wu Wei had mentioned this matter several times before. She was mentally prepared. After saying this, Wu Wei held the teacup and went back to sleep. When he reached the east wing door, he heard Xiaochun suddenly say, "Oh, second brother, I almost forgot to tell you that there is news about the Zishan brick kiln factory." Wu Wei turned around and asked, "What did you say?" "I heard that Widow Qin is planning to sell the kiln for 1,500 yuan. Wu Wei laughed in surprise. 1,500 yuan? Who are you going to sell it to? In his previous life, he and Qin Zairu agreed to a price of 1,000 yuan. Even though it was 1,000 yuan, it was on hold for half a year, and no one was interested. As the year was coming to an end, they had no choice but to reduce it to 800 yuan. As a result, they attracted a few people to come and negotiate, but in the end, none of them succeeded. Because this kiln factory had just killed someone, it was unlucky. More importantly, even if they took over, they would have to spend a lot of money to repair and rebuild it first. So this 800 yuan seems to be a good deal, but in fact, it would not work without spending tens of thousands of yuan. In the end, the brick kiln factory fell into the hands of the two people, and there was nothing they could do. Relying on a lot of debts, they spent nearly 10,000 yuan to get the brick kiln factory back on fire. Later, if it weren't for the price breakthrough in 1988, the price of red bricks soared, and it would not have been so easy for him and Qin Zairu to turn things around. But then again, Qin Zairu really couldn't stand being talked about. He had just been thinking about the brick kiln factory a few days ago, and now he received the news. Seeing his concern, Xiao-chun couldn't help asking, "Second brother, you're not really planning to buy that kill factory, are you? You're doing a good job in engineering now, is there a need for that?" Wu Wei couldn't explain this to his third sister. The bonus period of the brick kill factory is in these few years, especially the price breakthrough in 1988. If you really seize this opportunity, you can soar to the sky. In the previous life, when he and Shinzairu took this opportunity to turn things around, Shinzairu regretted more than once that she should have bought a few more brick-making machines to expand the scale. Reliving again, Wu Wei naturally couldn't miss such an easy opportunity. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 68. In response to Xiao-chun's worries, Wu Wei just waved his hand and said, "Don't worry, even if we want to buy it, it's not now. At least we have to let her hang out for a few months. Otherwise, as smart as Shinzairu, she will definitely think that this broken kill factory is a hot commodity. It is not impossible to raise the price directly. Of course, even after hanging it out for a while, Wu Wei does not intend to show up in person. In short, we must not let Shinzairu take advantage of this matter. Otherwise, it is possible that something bad will happen." In a blink of an eye, it is August 25th. At the stall on East Street, Wu Xiao-chun had just sold the fake collars she made yesterday and started to close the stall. Someone asked, "Girl, are you selling these stools?" Hearing this voice, Wu Xiao-chun was immediately like hearing the sound of nature. These two heavy stools have been brought back and forth every day for almost a week, but no one has asked for them. Today, someone finally asked. Looking up, it was an old gentleman with glasses, who was obviously a retired cotter from the government. For sale, old man." The old man pushed his glasses and said, "How much do you plan to sell it for?" Wu Xiao-chun has been setting up the stall for so long and doing business for so long that he has already learned to observe words and expressions and bargain. Seeing this, he did not answer but asked, "Old man, you have such a good eye, you can tell at a glance that you know the goods, right? Even if it were an ordinary person, it would be a bit stressful. What's more, the old man is not an ordinary person," and he said more proudly, "If you can't even tell that this is a stool made of Huanghuali wood, I wouldn't ask any more questions." Wu Xiao-chun directly raised his thumbs, "Old man, you have a sharp eye, you are indeed a person who knows the goods." Second brother said, "Since you are a person who knows the goods, you can set the price." The old man squatted down, tilted the round wooden stool to the ground, and looked at it for a moment. Then he suddenly realized, no wonder they added new paint to cover up the signs of restoration. He raised his head, pulled down his glasses, looked directly at Wu Xiao-chun and said, "Miss, although this is antique furniture, the price must be discounted after such restoration. How about this, 400 yuan each, I want both, how about 800 yuan? This price has exceeded Wu Wei's price. Wu Xiao-chun naturally had no reason to refuse. "Okay, old man, I'll go with your price." The old man stood up and patted his pocket, then suddenly realized, "I don't have that much on me. How about this, you take the stools and go back with me. Let's pay and receive the goods." Wu Xiao-chun showed his vigilance and took a step back and said, "How about this, old man, I'll wait for you here for half an hour. If you can come back in time, come. If you can't come back in time, come early tomorrow. But I can't guarantee that they won't be bought by others." The old man obviously knew the girl's concerns, so he could only leave in a hurry and said, "I will come back in half an hour." Finally, the two heavy stools were sold, and Wu Xiao-chun was so happy that he didn't have time to wait. What's the big deal about waiting for half an hour? But just as the old man left, a middle-aged man came over and said, "I'll buy these two stools, 450 each, how about it?" As he said, he squatted down and counted the money in front of Wu Xiaochun. If she could sell it for 100 yuan more, it would be a lie to say that she was not tempted. But now that the old man had just left, she was selling it to someone else, and she couldn't get over it. "I'm sorry, big brother, someone has ordered the stool." The middle-aged man said nonchalantly, "Did he pay? Did he pay the deposit?" Wu Xiaochun was speechless. But Xiaochun refused to give in and said, "No, I will do what I said. I will wait for him for half an hour, so it will be half an hour." The middle-aged man gritted his teeth and raised the price to 500 yuan. "Two stools can earn 200 yuan more." Xiaochun still refused to give in, and while insisting, she looked back at the clock on the wall of the store. After a while, the middle-aged man raised the price to 600 yuan, which was much more than the price offered by the old man. Now even Xiaochun realized that something was wrong. Are these two stools really so valuable? Why do people have to complain like this? Finally, 27 or 28 minutes later, the old man appeared on East Street with a woman in her 30s. The woman complained while riding her bike, "Dad, what antique furniture can there be on East Street? Are you old and blurry? Are you looking at it wrong?" The old man sat in the back, looking forward to it, and was anxious. Hearing this, he was too lazy to take care of his daughter's emotions. "I'm not old yet, how can I be blurry?" After saying that, the old man saw that many people gathered in front of Wu Xiaochun's stall. His heart jumped, and he wondered if the food was spoiled and bought by others. He immediately urged the woman, hurry up, and hurry up." A moment later, in front of Wu Xiaochun's stall. The old man didn't care about his daughter waiting for the car, and couldn't wait to separate the crowd and squeeze in and said, "I'm here, girl." Wu Xiaochun was also very happy when she saw this. "Finally I've waited for you, old man." Even if the old man didn't come today, Xiaochun didn't plan to sell it. The middle-aged man in front of him was obviously not a good person. If he sold it to him, he would lose everything. The old man looked down and saw that the middle-aged man was holding the stool tightly. He looked like he would start snatching it if he disagreed with him. "Young man, even if the deal fails, there is still righteousness. No matter what, you can't force a sale, right?" The middle-aged man said confidently, "I will offer 600 yuan for this thing, the highest bidder wins. If you have the ability, you can also offer 600. This is to provoke the old cotter to leave." However, Wu Xiaochun was not fooled and immediately stated, "Old gentleman, we agreed on 400 yuan per piece, that is 400 yuan. If you come back in half an hour, this stool should belong to you." The crowd immediately started to talk. Some people said that Xiaochun was stupid and did not sell it at a high price. Some people said that the middle-aged man was really wrong to rush to buy it. At this time, the old gentleman's daughter finally squeezed in, and the aura on her body immediately made the middle-aged man stunned. The old cotter may be retired, so there is no need to worry. But her daughter is obviously the wife of an official, and her background is not simple. If he really goes head-to-head, he will probably meet a tough guy. With this thought, the middle-aged man decisively let go. The old gentleman and Wu Xiaochun settled the money and goods and completed the transaction. Without any disagreements or disputes, the crowd dispersed. The old man asked his daughter to pick up the two round wooden stools, but he did not let Xiaochun leave directly. He said, "Girl, do you have any other Huanghuali furniture at home?" Xiaochun was stunned. There really was, but she shook her head subconsciously. The old man saw it, but said calmly, "Let's go. It's on the way back." With a huge sum of more than 800 yuan in her pocket and having just offended that man, Xiaochun felt like a thorn in her back, and her legs were shaking. After hearing what the old man said, she understood. Xiaochun took out a note, turned around and went straight to the public phone and said, "Old man, let me make a call." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 69. When the old man heard this, he thought the girl was a smart person. Not only did she understand his good intentions, but she also knew to call for help. Wu Xiaochun called the gatehouse of the meat processing factory. This was the first emergency number left for her by her second brother Wu Wei. If this number could not be reached, she had to call the second emergency number and go to the canteen in the family area. Fortunately, as soon as the call was connected, the guard of the meat processing factory promised, "Master Wu is here, I will go and call you." Wu Xiaochun breathed a sigh of relief, hung up the phone, and expressed a grateful look to the old cotters who had not left yet. After a while, Xiaochun called the guard again. The phone was picked up immediately, and Wu Wei couldn't wait to say, "Third sister, what happened?" Xiaochun didn't say much. "Second brother, I'm on East Street, and the stools have just been sold. Are you free to pick me up?" This silly girl, at this time, still asked if she was free. "Even if the sky falls, I have to put my third sister first. Just stay where you are. I'll be there soon." Wu Wei hung up the phone and didn't even go back to the factory site. He went straight to the carport and pushed the 28 bar and rushed to East Street. He knew where Xiaochun's stall was. So in a moment, he and his car were in front of the stall. But the stall had already been occupied by someone else, and Wu Wei was looking around. He saw Xiaochun next to the public phone, waving at him, second brother, I'm here." Wu Wei rushed over, grabbed Xiaochun, looked him up and down and said, "Are you okay?" With Wu Wei by his side, Xiaochun felt relieved, and the feeling of being on edge disappeared. He bowed to the old gentleman next to him and said, "Thank you, old gentleman." Wu Wei then noticed the old cotter and his daughter, reached out for a cigarette, and was about to go over to show his friendship. The old cotter wanted to take it. After all, since he retired, no one had offered him a cigarette for a while. This feeling is really long lost and wonderful. Suddenly, his daughter interrupted him and said, "My dad doesn't smoke." Wu Wei quickly put away his cigarette, and even stopped smoking himself, and only cared about "Thank you for protecting my third sister." The old cotter looked around and didn't see the man just now, so he took the opportunity to say, "Young man, there should be other Huanghuali furniture in your house, right? Can you take me to see it?" Wu Wei subconsciously wanted to refuse. After all, the threat from the third sister has not been resolved, and he let the wolf into the house. Isn't this just looking for trouble? But on second thought, there is only a thief who can be a thief for 1,000 days, but there is no reason to guard against thieves for 1,000 days. If possible, it is not impossible to let the wolf into the house and catch the turtle in the jar. What's more, the old cotter and his daughter have just helped their sister, and they are really obsessed with antique furniture. It is indeed difficult to refuse. Then please follow me, both of you. On the way back to the small courtyard of Bai Road, Wu Wei kept a little attention while walking. Occasionally, he had to deal with the old cotter's words. He really didn't see any signs of being followed. After opening the small courtyard, Wu Wei turned around and locked the door, and even looked back. It was like a meeting. Still didn't find anything. So when he returned to the courtyard, the old cotter had already touched the 8 immortal table hanging in the courtyard and looked at it carefully. It can be seen from his concentration that he really likes it. Only his daughter was beside him with an impatient look on her face. Xiaochun counted out the money and stuffed it directly into Wu Wei's pocket, saying, "Wait for you to give it to Chiao Chiao in the evening." Wu Wei counted out 100 and stuffed it into the third sister's pocket, saying, "For you, don't go out to the stall in the next few days. Xiao-chun was puzzled, why? But as soon as he said it, she understood. Even so, he still stuffed back 10 big unity notes and said, I can make money myself. On the other side, the old cotter looked for a long time, finally straightened up, supported the 8 immortal table, and panted with exhaustion. Young man, did you also repair this table? Wu Wei nodded, nothing can be hidden from your discerning eyes. Really good craftsmanship, the old cotter praised, patted the table and said, I want this table too, name a price. Wu Wei said generously, you are a connoisseur, name a price, I will never bargain. One price, 4,000 yuan, I want it. The old cotter is really generous. As a result, the daughter said beside him, Dad, I don't have so much money. The old cotter glared, good things are always hard to find. You don't have money, can't you ask someone to deliver it? Besides, such a big 8 immortal table, don't you have to find someone to carry it back? Wu Wei immediately decided, you really have a good eye, I'll go with the price you said. The middle-aged woman went out angrily to call for help. At this time, the old cotter took the opportunity to get close to Wu Wei and pinched his fingers at him. Wu Wei immediately understood and offered a Upinmi cigarette to the old cotter, and lit one for him. The old cotter took a deep breath, exhaled a long puff of smoke and said, young man, what's your last name? Wu Wei hurriedly said, my last name is Wu Wei. May I ask your last name? I think you look familiar. The old cotter nodded at Wu Wei, but didn't say it out loud, my last name is Zhong. You may have seen me in the newspaper before, but now I have retired to the second line, and this is the only fun thing left. Wu Wei's heart moved. He actually remembered an old cotter named Zhong in this county. Could it be the old secretary Zhong Xianzhong, a senior county official who just retired? Even if he retires, he should live in the Municipal People's Congress. Where does he have time to tinker with antique furniture? However, Wu Wei did not ask this question, but said respectfully, old secretary, I remember it. As a result, Mr. Zhong pressed his hand and said, keep a low profile, keep a low profile. Seeing that a cigarette was finished, Wu Wei hurriedly took out a cigarette to refill it. But there was a burst of hurried footsteps at the door. Mr. Zhong immediately fanned around like a thief to disperse the smoke, trying to cover up the truth. Even so, it was useless. When Mr. Zhong's daughter Zhongying came back, she smelled it and said, Dad, did you smoke? Wu Wei immediately stepped forward and said, Mr. Zhong didn't smoke, I was addicted to smoking, so I smoked. Zhongying glanced at Wu Wei, and then looked at her old father. She snorted softly and said, wait. It's a pity that there is no place to sit at home. The only 2 stools have just been bought by Mr. Zhong. Wu Wei could only point to the 2 wooden stools and say, you 2 sit down and wait. In less than half an hour, a secretary-like man with a bag under his arm came to the door. When he saw Mr. Zhong sitting in the yard, he came in immediately. Zhongying took the handbag from the secretary and counted out 4,000 yuan, which took a long time. She handed it to Wu Wei and said, here. Wu Wei took it and put it in his pocket without counting. Then a driver-like man came in from outside the door, and together with the secretary, he carried the 8 immortal table away. The brother and sister went out and saw that there was a jeep parked at the door. Thanks to the 10,000 reward from the balloon tonight, becoming the second helmsman of this book, Big Brother. Thanks to all the Yanzu for the monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. Thank you all. The original update time will be restored tomorrow. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 70. As soon as Mr. Zhong and his party left, the brother and sister immediately became alone. Especially since Wu Wei was carrying nearly 5 tons of unity at the moment, even though he was tall and powerful, he still felt a little intimidated. The only good thing is that it is daytime, broad daylight. In addition, there is a police station not far away, and the bank is right next to the police station. As long as you rush to the bank, people and money will be safe for the time being. Rao is so, arrived at the bank. When the teller's sister in the bank saw that he had brought so much money to deposit, she became a little more talkative and enthusiastic than usual. I just barely found out Wu Wei's 8 generations of ancestors. After calling the bank and leaving, Wu Wei's pocket was empty, with only 300 yuan left, and he felt much lighter with it. Carrying Sanmei all the way, we only took the main road and went straight to Baiguan Bridge. After leaving the county town, Wu Wei kicked the 28-meter pole into the air, making it impossible for anyone to follow him. After a while, we returned to the fence yard. Wu Wei left 300 yuan to Xiaochun and said, "Don't go out for a few days now, wait until the limelight passes. Besides, I'm afraid I have to live with Qiao in the city for a while. You can take some things and sit down at Dai's house and Xiao's house later. If anything happens, take care of each other." As a result, Xiaochun pushed the money back again. "Second brother, you must be careful. After all, the middle-aged man is more likely to find the Bai Road courtyard than the fence courtyard." Wu Wei patted his third sister and said, "Don't worry, I know it. After all, he is the breadwinner of the family, and the incident happened because of his lack of consideration. If he doesn't stand up, who will?" In the evening, Yang Qiao returned to the Bai Road courtyard humming a song. I opened the door and took a look. "My dear, has this been robbed?" I was immediately shocked and even the vegetables I bought fell to the ground. Fortunately, after walking around, Yang Qiao discovered that the only thing missing from the house was the Huanghuali antique furniture. I feel a little at ease, maybe I was sold by Xiaochun. Half an hour later, Wu Wei came back from the meat factory. Seeing that the door of the small courtyard was open, he rode in directly. I called Qiao several times, but no one answered. Wu Wei's heart sank. To lure a thief into an urn, don't let Qiao get in. Fortunately, the next second, Yang Qiao's voice hurriedly came from outside the door, "You're back, let's eat quickly." Wu Wei stretched his head and looked outside. "What have you been doing?" "Apart from being worried, there is always some blame in my heart." Yang Qiao said nonchalantly, "I gave some freshly fried tofu to Grandma Zhao next door. She doesn't have many teeth left, so she can only eat some tofu." Wu Wei was surprised. "When did you fall in love with the old lady? I heard that she has a weird and cruel temper." Yang Qiao said while busy, "Grandma Zhao is amazing, she is a serious old accountant, and she has also been awarded the National Model Worker." "How could a national model worker end up alone?" Wu Wei was confused, but he didn't ask. Instead, he mentioned, "By the way, Xiaochun sold the table and stool." Yang Qiao said oh and went into the kitchen to serve the food. She didn't care how much it cost. After a while, he came out with the rice bowl and said, "There are no tables, chairs, or benches today, so let's make do with what we have." Wu Wei took the rice bowl, sat down on the steps of the corridor eaves of the hall and said, "Come here, I'll give you something good." Yang Qiao leaned over unprepared, and was suddenly stuffed into Wu Wei's arms. The 30 large Unity sheets and deposit receipts were wrapped together and clamped securely so that they could not fall off. Yang Qiao was embarrassed and annoyed for a long time before taking out the money and deposit certificate. When you unfold it, you will see that 30 sheets of Unity are enough to shock you. The numbers on the deposit slip at the end shocked her even more. He quickly rewrapped the money and deposit certificate and stuffed it over and said, "This is too much money, I can't take it." Wu Wei held the bowl of seafood and began to eat the food and vegetables into his mouth. "You put it away first, I will use it, and I will ask you to get it. Besides, you picked up this money in the first place." But. Yang Qiao was so anxious that she stuttered. Wu Wei was too lazy to listen to her stuttering and interrupted directly, "I'm not leaving tonight, so I'll stay here." As expected, Yang Qiao stopped stuttering and said with joy, "Really?" It seemed that Wu Wei would be happier staying overnight than giving her more than 4,000 yuan. Wu Wei nodded, "Eat first, I have something else to tell you." Yang Qiao had so much money and deposit certificates in her hands that she couldn't think about eating, so she went back to the house to put them away. Then he returned to Wu Wei and sat together under the eaves of the corridor, holding his rice bowl and saying, "What's the matter, tell me." So Wu Wei told the truth that Xiaochun might be targeted for selling antique furniture today. If it were any other woman, hearing such a dangerous thing, she would have turned pale with fear. But after Wu Wei finished speaking, he looked sideways at Yang Qiao's face, only to find that she was eager to try, with an excited look on her face. "This is wrong. How can you make that thief feel embarrassed if you act like this?" Not only that, Yang Qiao even vowed, "Don't worry, if they really come, I will hit him to death with a shovel." This made Wu Wei really worried about those thieves. He quickly consoled them, "Let's not kill them, just take them to the police station." Yang Qiao said seriously, "That's right. It would be unlucky to die in our small courtyard." As a result, Wu Wei became more relaxed. After dinner, it's time to wash up and rinse. After all this work, it is said that you should rest early and wait for your work. As a result, Yang Qiao went to pick up the book and said, "I'm going to find Grandma Zhao to learn accounting for 2 hours every night. Wait a minute, I'll be back after I finish learning." Seeing Yang Qiao so happy, Wu Wei could only send her to the next door. After all, it's not a good idea to keep doing odd jobs. Learning a skill like accounting can also help him better. Wu Wei returned to the main room, took out his account book, and began to count the expenses of various projects since the start of construction. 2 hours later, Qiao went and came back. The small book in her hand was densely filled with notes, and she seemed to be thinking while walking, as if she really learned it. Wu Wei turned his head and said, "Why are you holding 2 sticks under your arms?" Yang Qiao then remembered and said, "I borrowed them from Grandma Zhao and put them under the bed. It's convenient to use." As a result, the first night was safe and sound. The two took turns to rest, and they didn't even have time to push the mill. On the second night, it was still safe and sound. Wu Wei couldn't sit still any longer, so he hugged Qiao and said, "Let's go buy furniture tomorrow, I'll go with you." Wu Wei didn't believe it. "I spent the money so ostentatiously, how could those thieves sit still?" The next day, on the afternoon of the 27th, the two of them went straight to the furniture market in the west of the city with 300 yuan in cash. Compared to the budget of 80 yuan, the purchasing power of 300 yuan is much greater now. Even so, Yang Qiao didn't want to buy new furniture. She only picked a half-new 8 immortal table and 8 chairs, and added a large wardrobe to the east wing and a bed to the west wing.